Ryan Cooper is the Prospects managing editor and also author of How Are You Going to Pay for That? Smart Answers to the Dumbest Question in Politics. Great to have you, Ryan. Welcome.
Good to see you, man.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you wrote an intelligent piece about this new idea that was proposed by Bill Cassidy and Angus King. Let's go ahead and throw this up on the screen. The headline here from the Prospect is "The Smart Bipartisan Plan to Shore Up Social Security. Bill Cassidy and Angus King Propose an American Social Wealth Fund." So I would love it if you could just start with the very basics of what is a social wealth fund and why is this even being contemplated at this point at all?
Yeah, well, a social wealth fund is quite simple. It's just a government investment account, basically. The government finds a source of revenue from somewhere, and they use it to buy up some kind of investment, stocks, bonds, real estate. Alaska actually has one of these. They seeded it with their oil money, but it's they pay a dividend out of that to every Alaskan. The money doesn't come directly from the oil. It's important to understand it comes from the investment returns of the fund. They have about, I think the current total is about $75 billion right now. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's as simple as that. It's just like any, wealthy individual, they has stuff like this. This will be just doing it on a government scale. And the proposal is to just use that as a source of revenue to basically bolster the finances of Social Security, find another revenue stream for it, as it were. And so they propose to not take the existing Social Security trust fund, but to find some money from somewhere else, in this case by borrowing, actually, and invest it in stocks, or I think that's mainly what they propose. But, theoretically, you could put it in whatever you wanted to.
Right. So, Ryan, what are the arguments against this? I guess one of them would be, at least with Social Security, it's a guarantee. S&P 500 returns like 13% on average, but sometimes it drops by 22%, and sometimes it goes up by 40%. So, what would you do? How do you mitigate the downside risk, I guess, to taxpayer money and to the overall benefit?
Well, there's a risk with everything. One of the reasons we have this problem right now, which is that the Social Security Trust Fund is scheduled, they estimate it will be exhausted by about 2034 or so, is because that the money has been invested in this hyper conservative account, which is all treasury bonds. And as you say, there's an enormous difference over the last 30 years. There's about an 8 percentage point difference between the return on the S&P 500 and the return on United States debt. So, there is a risk, but, there's also a risk to not doing it, which is that, you're leaving money on the table. And one of the nice things about a government is that you have a theoretically infinite time horizon. And so if there's a bad turn in the market, you can usually just wait it out. These are usually transitory things that only last a couple of years. And so you can basically sit on your hands. You could, in the case of an, extreme event, just bolster it up with some extra borrowed money or something like that. And just wait for things to turn around. So, it's not like a person where they, you absolutely must get your money out when you need it. The government can shore things, paper over the cracks for a long time.
Got it.
How do you like this idea as opposed to what Senator Sanders has long proposed and others, and apparently Joe Manchin just came out in support of the idea of lifting the income cap? So right now there's a limit to the amount of wage income that is actually taxed to go into the Social Security Trust Fund. The idea is why are we giving this tax break to the wealthy, basically, that is undercutting the ability to make sure that Social Security benefits will be there for retirees into the future? What do you make of that proposal instead?
I think that's great. The reason I would say I mainly like this Social Security, investment scheme is that it puts the idea of a social wealth fund on the table. And I think if you're actually going to do it, the way to do it would be like Alaska. Basically, you're taking some of the capital income of the country, the income from investment returns, which is about 30% of national income, and goes overwhelmingly to the richest people in the country. And just like getting the government's fingers in that particular, pie. And, you could do it for Social Security, or you could do a universal basic dividend like my friend Matt Bruenick proposes. But yeah, I don't think these necessarily trade off. I would also get rid of that payroll tax cap, and that would, I think, shore up the Social Security's finances indefinitely as well. So, we could do both and in fact boost Social Security benefits higher than they are now, which is probably a good idea.
Do we have any examples of other nations, that are able to do that? I know Norway has a good one, but again, that's kind of oil related. Is there anybody on par with us that has a similar financing scheme?
Yeah, and I mean, Norway's the big one. They own like 1.3% of all of the stocks in the world, which is crazy when you think about how
Yeah.
small the country is. There are a lot of, petro states have them. Alaska is probably the single most relevant example. I believe North Dakota has one as well.
Interesting.
And as you say, these tend to come from oil rents because it's much more easily politically to do it that way, because it's like the oil is not, being created by a capitalist or something like that. It's
Yes.
sort of the heritage of everyone. But, the guy who set up Alaska's dividend thing, he tried that multiple times with different sources. He wanted to do it with fish taxes, and then he wanted to do it just with tax money. And there's no reason why you couldn't just use regular government money. I mean, that that buys just as good as anything else. It's just a question of getting the politics squared away. And 8 percentage points of investment return is really that's a huge, imagine being a Wall Street trader and you're looking at something like that, just being able to borrow at these rock bottom prices and invest in the market. I mean, it's a total no brainer.
Yeah.
Good point.
Last question to you, Ryan. Part of why there's all this discussion now of Social Security and Medicare is because you have some in the Republican caucus who are once again back to floating cuts to quote unquote entitlement programs. Joe Biden seems a newly reformed man, but he has in the past been open to these cuts as well, including during the Obama administration when they floated insanely this grand bargain, which the only reason we didn't end up with it is basically because the Tea Party at the time was like, no, this doesn't even go far enough. So, we have this debt ceiling situation coming up where the Republicans are very committed to holding the country hostage in order to extract some sort of spending cuts, maybe with entitlement spending, quote unquote, maybe in some other area. What is your level of confidence in the ability of this administration led by Joe Biden to sort of hold firm to their current position that we are not going to negotiate on the debt ceiling whatsoever?
I am semi-confident. Biden's a party guy at the end of the day. And, the party has totally come away from the position of Obama in 2011, when, as you say, he was putting like $800 billion in Social Security and Medicare cuts on the table, to give to the Tea Party. By 2016, Obama was proposing an increase in Social Security benefits, pressed by Elizabeth Warren and other folks, Bernie Sanders as well. The other thing about Joe Biden, though, is he tends to be a little bit of a flapjaw who just sort of says stuff without, really thinking it through. And I've heard from people inside the congressional, staffers on the Hill who are afraid that he'll just get to talking with the Republicans and just randomly propose some like big bargain. But at the end of the day, Social Security and Medicare are so popular. Pew poll from a couple of years ago said 74% of Americans do not want Social Security benefits to be cut. I think Biden is a savvy enough politician that he knows that would be horribly unpopular and it would be a terrible precedent to give the Republicans anything in return for like holding the global economy hostage. So, fingers crossed, basically.
Yeah, well, especially when you have Trump actually already out there. I mean, this was one of the ways he broke ranks with Republican orthodoxy in 2016, and he's already come out and said you should not put penny of cuts from Social Security and Medicare on the table. So it'd be a terrible position for Biden to be in going into reelect if he is up against Trump again, to let Trump get to the left of you on those issues. Thank you for breaking all of this down for us. We really appreciate it, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. It was a fun show today. It was a long show, but that's important.
A lot to talk about.
Always happens. And whenever we got to break stuff down, we got breaking news, all of that. I hope you guys enjoyed Counterpoints yesterday. We certainly did. They did a phenomenal job. We've got great content, partner content specifically for everybody all throughout the weekend. Shout out to the premium subscribers who enable all of our work here possible. We just really couldn't do it without you, and especially with the discussions we're having right now, Krystal. New set and logo and all this other stuff. It costs a lot of money.
2024, friends.
It costs a hell of a lot of money, and literally the only way is because of all of you. So thank you all so much for giving us that confidence, and we will see you all next week.
Love you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.